Hello dear friends, welcome back at Lit eCity YouTube channel, the channel of your choice related with English literature, and we are basically in our series Great American Novels. This is second part, and in this particular video we are going to discuss three novels that are though belong to the American literature, the American literary canon, but at the same time they share some we can say marginalized people's experience. Two novels are from Black American community, one by Maya Angelou and the other being by Ralph Ellison, and one from Chicano community, The House on Mango Street. So we will start our first discussion with I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This is one of the most extraordinarily written work related with the experience of a Black American young woman. It is written by Maya Angelou. She is a very prolific voice from Black America. It was first published in 1969, and the setting of the novel is Southern United States. It is basically an autobiographical work whose title is taken from a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Now, Paul Laurence Dunbar, he was a poet who wrote about the problem and the challenges faced by the minor Black community in the majority of white racist America, especially in Southern America. Maya was very much, inspired by his poetry, and she decided to pick this line as the title of her first, this important work. Actually, it is the first of 7 autobiographical works written by Maya Angelou and recounts the turbulent childhood experiences which she gained while she shuttled between many places of South American states. Her family was basically moving, father and mother locating at different places, so the children they have to travel continuously, frequently to different houses. It also tells her relationship with her close associates, like with her grandmother Annie Henderson, a very, we can say, formidable woman, her brother Bailey Jr., her father Bailey, and her mother Vivian. The book begins with the narrator standing in a church to recite a poem with a wish to be blue-eyed and white one day. It is one of, we can say, a very common trope which is found in the literature written by the Black people of the American society, and it shows that how children were basically, it was assimilated that to be accepted into society one needs to have blue eye. You can also find this trope in Toni Morrison's great novel The Bluest Eyes. The first chapter tells how 3-year-old Maya and her elder brother, they go to live with their grandmother at Stamps, Arkansas in Southern America because their parents have divorced. Their grandmother, she is a very popular personality in the neighborhood. She runs a local store and is a formidable character. Maya has interactions with a lot of local Black community, and with these communications she comes to learn about the first important lessons of her life. Soon they both are shifted to their mother's family at St. Louis and learn to adjust the city life. However, there is a traumatic event. Mr. Freeman, who is friend of her mother and a co-worker, one day when he finds her alone, he rapes the 8-year-old girl. His act is gradually discovered, put on trial, but he gets acquitted. Later, his body is found. He is murdered, and it is actually assumed it must be her uncles who have done this job. Both Maya and her brother are once again sent back to stamps, but Maya is traumatized by this horrible experience and she is cocooned in herself. Not recovered from this experience, Maya is finally gently persuaded by a very influential woman of the locality, Mrs. Bertha. She inspires Maya to read books and then she starts talking again. Maya graduates from a grammar school and for a time she works as a domestic help also. However, once again, their mother decides to take them back with her to California, where she is now living with her new husband, Daddy Clydell. Soon with him, she goes on a trip to Mexico. In fact, her mother is very much excited about this trip because it is a sort of exotic life she always wanted to live. She is largely disappointed later and returns to San Francisco, and there is, in fact, a quarrel between both of them also. Maya, on the other hand, wants to get a job as soon as possible. She has to fight local authorities a lot, but finally, she is successful to become the first black female conductor of the street cars. We can say it is her first small but significant victory. Her sexual awakening results in her seducing a boy, and soon she realizes that she is pregnant. But her brother advises her to keep it a secret until she finishes her school. Just after graduation, she leaves a note to her family informing of her pregnancy. It is almost the delivery time. She gives birth to a son. Initially, she is very nervous about handling the newborn. However, her mother shows her how she protects her son even in her sleep. And this is how the first part of her experiences ends. In fact, you must know about other autobiographies by Maya also. Gather together in my name, singing and swinging and getting married like Christmas, the heart of a woman, all God's children need traveling shoes, a song flung up to heaven, mom and me and mom. These are other parts of her autobiographies. She has also written poetry. Dear friends, the second work which we will discuss today is Invisible Man, and it is written by Ralph Ellison, first published in 1952, and like the earlier work, it is also set in Southern America. In fact, it is one of the earliest work by a black writer to portray the angst, the trauma, the challenges faced by the black community. Ralph Ellison was inspired by his mentor James Baldwin and the then very popular reformist racial policies of Booker Washington to write his first novel, Invisible Man. It is, in fact, we can say an experimental work, a very popular work also. It is considered as a comic epic masterpiece. It chronicles the story of a young man's struggle to search for his identity and his realization he is invisible. People ignores him as if he doesn't exist to the white race. The story is of both physical and psychological journey according to the author. This is important. From purpose to passion to perception through a series of flashbacks in the forms of dreams and memories. The protagonist is an unnamed boy from South America, and the story begins by his attempt to analyze his invisibility to others. In the prologue, the narrator speaks from his hideout. The narrator is at present in hiding. It is a coal cellar in an apartment for the whites, and he describes how he has been treated almost as an invisible being. He resents this treatment. He recounts when a man bumped into him and abused him, he almost killed him, but later he realizes that it was not the fault of the man. He is generally considered to be invisible. The rest of the novel is his attempt to explain his quest and understanding of his own identity. The first thing the narrator remembers as a young boy is his high school graduation speech, which brought him into the eyes of the headmaster who invited him for the same speech at a local club. Obviously, the boy is very excited, but when the narrator goes there, he has to participate in a blindfold boxing match with his classmates for a white stag party. There are other physical and psychological humiliations also, and in the end, the boy finally gives his speech, but the listeners are almost in a stupor state, drunken and disinterested white audience. That night, he sees his grandfather in the dream, who says to him to open a briefcase. When he does so, he finds a note saying, "Keep this nigger boy running." This becomes the keynote for him for the rest of his life. He keeps running and stumbling as if keep this nigger boy. This is an injunction of the white society for not only for him but for all the people belonging to his race. The next significant event which he relates is during his college days, when he takes Norton, a white trustee of the college, to a guide tour of the campus. But he takes Norton to black neighborhoods also, and when it comes into the knowledge of the principal, he is expelled from the college and he is sent to New York. Once again, he is disillusioned to think that it is opening of great opportunities, but actually there is an expulsion letter with him. Coming to the north from the south first excites him because he witnesses great freedom for black people compared to the south. He also listened to listening to a black man, Ross, the exhorter, appealing his mates to be united. He is very much inspired by him. He attached himself to this particular person. Soon he gets a job at a paint factory because white workers are on a strike. Due to an explosion, he is badly injured, and at the hospital he is subjected to various experiments by the white doctors. He is given shelter by a kind black woman, Mary Rambo, who nurses him back to health. But obviously he can't stay here for a long time. Next, he joins a political organization, Brotherhood. It basically claims to work for equality of humankind. Its leader, Brother Jack, prepares the narrator as an eloquent speaker and later the leader of Harlem District. He also has a brief affair with Sybil, a white woman who is attracted towards him for his black sexuality. The death of his friend, Todd Clifton, who is also the member of this organization, Brotherhood, and who is shot by a white cop, it shatters all his hopes and illusions, and he decides to leave the Brotherhood. This is considered as a betrayal of the group. He has to disguise himself to escape the death threats by other members of the Brotherhood. During this period, when he is seeking refuge, he is repeatedly mistaken for someone named Reinhardt, a con man who uses his invisibility to his own advantage. He reaches his old neighborhood as Harlem, where he is involved into the chaotic violence and he finds himself in the act of burning a building. He is trying to go and meet Mary. He is chased by white cops and escaping from them, he falls in a manhole and reaching this present hideout. He falls sick and then he is grabbed and castrated by a group of men, which is actually associates of Brother Jack. However, after all these painful experiences, the narrator feels that after retelling his experience, he is now rediscovered his life. Dear friends, very important and we can say a very popular work of American canon is The House on Mango Street, work by Sandra Cisneros, and it was first published in 1983. The setting of the work is a Hispanic ghetto in Chicago. Dear friends, Sandra Cisneros is known for poetry and works about her unique experiences as a Hispanic woman, a woman which has, we can say, who has a double identity belonging to a particular race, class, and brought up in a different race, class background. This work is not actually in a traditional sense a novel, rather it is collection of short sketches told from the eyes of a young Latino girl. It is a linked collection of 44 literary sketches and set in the Hispanic American ghetto in Chicago and narrated by a 12-year-old Mexican American, which is also known as Chicano or Chicana girl, Esperanza Cordero, and these sketches offer a glimpse into the lives of the women. Her special focus is on the young and old women of this community. The novel opens with Cordero House on Mango Street, which is small and cramped. Esperanza has lived in many houses earlier. They do not have one, we can say, a fixed residence. She dislikes this house because earlier houses were much larger, but knows that she has to live in this house now. The stories are about various people Esperanza witnesses and observes with her teen eyes. She informs among others her father who does two jobs, mother who can speak two languages, Rachel and Lucy, two sisters who are from Texas and become Esperanza's best friend. There is also a vignette about Louis, a boy whose cousin steals a car one day and all children are given a ride. Marin, there is another teenage girl waiting for a boyfriend and she sells Avon cosmetics on the street. Then there is Sally, a very important character, one of Esperanza's friend, married at an early age to get away from her abusive father, but only to find a dominating husband who doesn't allow her to visit her friends. Sally now uses younger men to escape from her dull married life. Though Esperanza doesn't like her ways with the boys, still their friendship continues to grow. However, Sally and Esperanza's friendship ends when Sally one day ditches Esperanza for a boy at a carnival and Esperanza is raped by a group of men. Apart from these younger girls, Esperanza also gets acquainted with many older women who, though less daring, have more wisdom to offer. One of them is her Aunt Lupe, who encourages her to write poetry. Esperanza's puberty and growing sexual maturity, along with the death of her grandfather and Aunt Lupe, make her more considerate towards the world around her. She also meets three old aunts who read her palm and tell her that she will go far in her life, but she must also come back to Mango Street to take care of its residents. She realizes it is her writing that will allow her to keep in touch with the Mango Street by telling their stories. This is how these different stories are linked together. In fact, Sandra also writes poetry, and in her poetry also these characters appear. Okay, friends, that's all for today in this special edition of Great American Novel second part, in which we discuss some novels by Black and Chicano community. Keep watching, keep supporting for some more fascinating, interesting and knowledge providing videos. Thank you, friends.